Hail Satan, everybody. Well, today's November 13th, right? A good day for Drew to come back out on video, I think. And so today, I'm going to talk about, of course, another controversial subject in the annals of magic, right? Particularly with left hand path magic. So, in my Master Counselor Book of Devilish Deeds, today's discussion, of course, is going to be on healing as a form of dark magic. Wow. Did Drew just say healing is a form of dark magic? Absolutely. And this is where you have to know how. All right. And you know me, I want to talk about the issues and the things that are not as often talked about, right? And a lot of leaders don't even try to tackle these kind of things that I like to talk about, right? But in real leadership, you can't run away from those issues and the controversial subjects too as a leader. You don't want to do that. Okay. So, there it is, my Devilish Deeds book. Needless to say. Let me put my rings on because I don't do anything without my Brotherhood of the Ram and my Brotherhood rings here. Okay. All right. So we're going to discuss magic, right? But we're discussing healing. Now there's a lot of people that are going to, let me ring my little bell here. Little spirit bell. Okay. So back to what I was saying. We're going to discuss a controversial subject. Healing as a dark art. Wow. Now, why I say this could be a controversial subject that I'm talking about is because most Satanists today are coming from that background that they've gained and gleaned a lot of information from what the Church of Satan and some of these other atheistic organizations out there that like to make the claim that there is no satanic witchcraft and that all these other subjects have been sanitized. Well, let me tell you about the sanitization of these things. They were sanitized after the fact. Okay. And two of the people controversially that were involved in this sanitizing of things, guess who they were? Gerald Gardner, the founder and inventor of Wicca, okay, and Aleister Crowley, who in his younger days was a great note, and also a Satanist. Now, that's another thing that's refuted among some Satanists. Crowley was never a Satanist. No, Crowley was never a Satanist that said he was a Satanist publicly. He liked to be under the umbrella of the dark occult, okay? And you need to research the left-hand path, and you'll have a better idea what Drew's telling you here about Crowley. Also read what Crowley himself said about Satan. That's key. Okay, but back to what I'm talking about, right? Most people think healing. Wow, a Satanist is going to do something like healing? Yes, we do heal. We do heal a lot. And we're going to heal our own kind, our kindred, right, when they need healing. Now, yes, generally healing itself as a ritual or as a spell work for someone else outside of yourself is generally done under the influence of an increasing moon, right? A positive moon, a moon for increase. Because what you're wanting to increase in your dark magic is the actual healing process itself. You want that person to start becoming healed. So you're putting the thought form pattern and the ritual ability and the spell work out there for healing under the under the influence of the moon. That's an increase. Now here's what Drew's got to talk about. How could Drew say then healing has anything to do with darkness? Or how would healing be a part of the left-hand path or Satanism? Okay. You guys remember the saying, right? If you can't hex, you can't heal. If you can't heal, you can't hex. That's absolutely true. Very, very true. And we're talking about things here where we're talking about, well, I'm getting power surges. Isn't that interesting? I'm going to go ahead and turn off Carlos Santana. for a second here. I'll turn him off. Power surges. But I also am talking about some powerful things, and it's not unusual for Drew to have some power surges in his office during those times. It's just the energy, right? It's a frequency, it's a vibration. Okay. So let me get back to this. So a Satanist, oh, they should never heal. This is from the outside, of course, not inside the brother. Oh, absolutely, we want to heal people. We want to be able to help people that come to us and need our help, right? They're going through a lot of tough stuff, health-wise. So yes, the brother does have a conjuration for healing too. It's part of our 13-step ritual in our conjurations, which is actually 5 conjurations we use. One of them is healing. Let me get at what I was saying here. Okay. So how does healing to a Satanist even reflect that it's left-hand path or dark magic, right? I'll tell you how. There's 2 parts to healing. This is what all wise witches should know. 2 parts of real healing. One is putting the healing process in action during the increase of the moon, because the healing blessings and energies to begin the healing process are done when you want to be building something, because what you're building is that healing process to occur. Where it becomes a dark art is because all real Satanists should walk in balance. That's why the brother of the Saint always says we're balanced Satanists. Even those of us that are not satanic witches per se, we're just plain Satanists. Okay. I'm both. Absolutely, Drew's both. Okay. But where healing becomes a dark art, it's very simple. Remember the Brotherhood says all of the dark arts, all the occult is under the rulership of Satan. That's a key thing to remember in this aspect here, okay, and what I'm talking about. It's all under the rulership of Satan. Okay, so healing. Most people would put that in the category of white magic if you were to ascribe a color to magic, right? Well, there's no color in magic, really. It's the intention of the magician that makes it a positive form of magic or a negative form of magic. And that depends on the person who has either insulted somebody that's a knowledgeable witch that knows that destructive magic, and also it can relate to a person that knows the healing side too. Now, I can do both. Absolutely. Oh, I can destroy somebody that's gone up against me. I have had to do that with other black magicians that thought they were full of themselves and knew more than Drew. But I also heal a lot. Okay. And where it becomes a dark art is simply this. There's 2 parts to healing. And most people don't understand this. And particularly satanic people need to be educated about this process, right? So let me explain it to you. 2 parts of healing. Did you really say that? Yes, I did. It's also part of the balance a satanic magician should have and be walking in. Okay. You have to have the knowledge that the healing process that you begin does begin under that influence of an increase or a waxing moon, right? But don't forget the second part, which is so very important in the healing process. If you don't do the second part, which is really where it relates to the dark arts, you're only putting a Band-Aid on that health issue. It may feel good a little bit for a little while, but you haven't done the most important thing, which is darker, because it's done under the influence of a dark moon, a decreasing time, a banishment time. And what does Drew mean by that? Easily. You not only want to get the process of the healing to begin, you want to be the magician that knows how to remove the actual illness itself, the health issue itself. So you have to know dark magic. You're doing a reversal, a removal, a banishment of that ailment and that health issue itself. Wow. That means healing. Part of its aspect then In fact, half of the balance of healing magic is dark. Okay, guys, it absolutely is. And that's the whole reason for my little class today, my discussion today. So many people think that these other things have no relationship whatsoever to Satanism or satanic witchcraft. In satanic witchcraft, however, it's key to learn these things. And why would it be key? Because if you weren't in it for healing, you want to know when to increase and decrease anything in your magic. Anything. Wow. Okay. It's a bit of satanic wisdom, everybody, to know this stuff. Okay. On a more personal level, understand that you've got to work magic without any kind of color in your head. Okay. That conditioning is coming from the other side in the first place. Let me inform you. Magic, with a K, to differentiate it from stage magic, and practical magic is something you must do with the infernal balance of opposites. You must understand the infernal balance of opposites. And in order to harm, you must learn to heal also. It's the second side of that process, right? So it's a fallacy to think satanic witches or Satanists, we just get out there and just do destructive magic and negative magic only. That's so far from the truth. We do a lot of positive magic, even though we are Satanists. We make no qualms about it, we're Satanists. And we describe ourselves often as being dark. Where darkness comes in, because of persecutions, we've always had to do things under the cloak and cover of darkness for our very protection. Hence the reasons, this one's purple for royal craft, but hence the reason that most Satanists, for the most part, will wear black. Absolutely the reason. It reflects that we understand that in our past we were persecuted. And we're always under the cover of darkness. That's why there's a lot of Brotherhood things that we do that'll never be on the internet, my brothers and sisters. You must join the Brotherhood to have those shared with you. The new Brotherhood generation. The Brotherhood of Saints. These things are being taught by Brotherhood of Darkness elders already in Brotherhood of Saints. Lots of things. And I'm going to be increasing that. But as a wise magician, like Drew likes to be, if I'm going to put a label on myself, it would be whether I want to be wise or unintelligent, right? Wise or ignorant. My choice is going to be wise all the time, every time. And to be wise as a Satanist, you must have what? The knowledge from your own black flame. Your discernment of different things in the occult world would be for you personally. That's true. And every so often, there'll be a way shower or a guide like Drew that comes along and kind of fills in some pieces for you. If I do that, I even just fill in one piece for you as an individual Satanist. Drew's doing his job. What my assignment is as a master counselor since 1976, before many, many people were even born. They wouldn't have gave me that position unless I was a good counselor. I mean, I can break things down. I use integrated thinking. I don't just run on emotional response first. I use logic. All the things a leader, as they progress into becoming a leader, is going to actually start learning the growing process. These are the things that are going to make you a leader. You'll step away from those things. You'll step away from the mainframe of information out there. And you're going to be like Drew and take a step over the edge to look for the answers to these other things that are all still part of the whole, right? They're all part of the black arts, the dark arts. But most people don't understand that. A good example is today. Okay? A good example is the new moon. Well, most people think new moon, oh, that means we're going to an increase now. No, the new moon is the darkest point of the waning moon. That's a fact. It's Mother Lilith's time. It's a dark moon. Okay. No, you wouldn't start a healing process then until after the new moon by 2 or 3 days, when then it starts turning into a waxing process towards increase at the full moon, right? Most powerful time. Absolutely. Okay. Somewhere, Satanism got off the beaten path, so to speak. Okay. And they stopped explaining all these other things that people wanted to leave out of Satanism in the left-hand path. I don't know why. Because any real left-hand pather is going to understand it's all about self-empowerment. Well, self-empowerment is having the knowledge, the satanic gnosis, right? To know how and when to use magic, and in the proper form that magic should be used from point A to point B. What's the best way to use your magic, right? And how do you use magic? Magic is magic. It's used constructively or destructively, increase or decrease. And it has a high potent point in the dead center every 2 weeks, and that's the full moon. After the darkest moon is turned into a wax then. And then it hits full moon. So you want to culminate all your magic to be hitting right at that full moon. The most magnetic, most powerful time. That's where the power of increase comes in. Now, when the moon begins to wane, and again, Drew will say 3 days. 3 days after the full moon, it's starting to move into a waning moon. The darker aspects back towards the new moon, right? Okay. And that's when you want to remove things. And not only can you use this magic to remove illnesses, you can use the same magic at this time to remove anything that's an unwanted trait that you have, okay? A bad habit. You want to quit smoking cigarettes. Well, the time to start doing that then is at this time. A removal, a banishment, a release, if you want to use the word. Okay. Thanks for everybody's time today. And again, this is one of my shorter discussions, but it is the 13th. I've been extremely busy, so I haven't been doing Sinful Sundays for a few weeks. I'm going to be doing those again too. But again, Drew wants to talk about these things, right? Because my purpose is to see you as a self-empowered magician, satanic magician. And if I wanted to see you truly as a self-empowered satanic magician, I'm going to start teaching you the proper usage of magic. Absolutely. Absolutely. And if I didn't do these things with everybody, I'm not somebody to listen to, okay? And remember about what Drew is actually. I'm a way shower. So I'm just wanting to open your minds. Then I want to give you some source material. Then I'm going to give you some perspectives and thought forms about it. But I, above everybody else, knows it all ties back into satanic philosophy. So you had to make the decision on something. All I can do is present the facts and little keys for you to open doors with. Remember, those doors are portals. But what are they portals to? It's a portal to lead you to a greater understanding and comprehension of magic, all of which is the dark occult. Now, the word esoteric and the word occult both mean hidden. Now, the only reason there was hidden things and secrecy in all of this, going all the way back to mystery schools, is because it was for our very protection. And we had no purpose for, or no wanting to do, no desire to pass on our information or our knowledge to anybody that's not an initiate. That's why we say it's reserved for the initiates and kept from the profane. Absolutely. Absolutely. So understand now that real Satanists should always strive to walk in balance. You don't want to be an unbalanced magician by only being a chaos magician, or only doing negative things and thought forms and stereotypical shit that the Christians say we're supposed to be. Wow. You got to dissect yourselves from that old Christian conditioning, that whole Christian upbringing and brainwashing, guys. Those of you that aren't generationals, I was very lucky. But those of you that aren't generations, you guys are so conditioned by this Christian crap. You got to have leaders like Drew going to come out and talk to you about this stuff and point you in the right direction. Not dictate to you, but point you in the right direction, right? And give you controversial things to think about on your own measure. And that's what Drew wants to do. What's the true measure of a Satanist? What you do yourself. That's what measures you as a Satanist. And where's the measurement? What is it in measurement of? What you know and what you don't know. What you know and what you don't know. All of magic is based on one dark principle. And I call it dark because it's a dark principle. It's called nature's law, natural law. And why would we call it dark when it's natural law? Because most things of nature are dark. We're supposed to find out the answers that nature's presenting for us on an individual level ourselves. But how would natural law be dark? Very simply. No matter what we do, right, we can attract that back. Everything is that circle of reciprocity. Like attracts like. What you do comes back to you. Now, there's another issue, since we're talking about healing in Satanism, right? So the other issue that comes out then, when you're talking about healing in Satanism, is the very thought form pattern about healing yourself. Okay, this is another step away from an actual healing ritual or spellcraft, where you're bringing the healing blessing upon somebody under the increased time and then removing the ailment under the negative time. This relates to you again, what I'm really leading into here, relates to you again as an individual Satanist, because the healing process is a spiritual process too. And it begins with us. It's not just somebody outside of knowledge, somebody that has knowledge on the outside doing a healing for us, or doing the reversal of the illness. It's more than that. It's knowing the healing process within yourself also. How do you heal yourself? Let me tell you how. Get on that gnosis current. You tap into the current, the frequency of magic and knowledge and all the dark arts. You move into that current. And guess what it is? It's doing a spiritual healing process on an individual level, and there's where it fits into Satanism. It's on an individual level for the practitioner. Absolutely. Okay. Does the Brotherhood like to sanitize witchcraft or Satanism at all? No, we're not sanitizing the fucking thing. And I'm sure there's going to be a few idiots out there. I'm going to use the word idiots. There's going to be a few idiots out there that want to try to say those kind of things when they're wrong. All it is the Brotherhood has the real knowledge about magic, how to use it properly in a practical sense, so you can use it in your everyday lives, no matter what the conjuration's for. Practice makes perfect. I've said it thousands of times to people. And repetitive practice makes even more perfect. Because you're practicing. Practicing is going through the motions of living it, right? But it's more than just going through the motions. It's feeling it here in your black flame. And knowing that everything to do with self-empowerment on an individual level is satanic. Everything. That's where re-education process comes in. And master counselors like myself come out. Because why? Brother to Darkness and the Brother to Satan New Generation wants to teach accurate information to people, whether it's subject matter, a dark art information, or ritual practices even, okay? Because we want you to do things correctly where you are going to be self-empowered. Knowing these key things that Drew's showing you, it's like me handing you a handful of keys again. I do that a lot, actually. And I don't always say it's a key. But most of the things I talk about or teach you or pass on, I like to use the word pass down, are keys. The key has to get to you. You have to take the key, and you have to put the key into that lock and turn it, right? And then you have to open that door and step through it yourself. Don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to learn all forms of magic and the proper usages of magic. You'll see what Drew's saying here. And yes, Satanists do heal people too. Absolutely we do. But we do a step further than just putting a healing process, like I said, under an increased mood. We also want to remove the ailment. So you have to work in diminishing it, right? And removing it totally. So then the magic becomes a balanced magic, actually. So healing is really a balanced magic, like I said. And Satanists that know balance will know how to use it properly. And they're going to know part of the healing process is done under the dark moon. It's a dark time. Absolutely. Okay. Remember what Drew says. Don't fear the darkness. We are the darkness. Don't fear it. And things don't remain totally dark. They don't remain in total darkness for you, even if we walk in darkness constantly like I do. And why I say that is because there's an illumination that occurs on your dark path to where illumination hits. And then you have connected into that current and that vibration to understand. Magic is always based on intention, never color. Always intention of what you're using your magic for. Okay? Absolutely. Now, no, don't ever get it in your head. Excuse the phone calls. Drew's a very busy master counselor at times. So I get a lot of calls. And just realize intention is everything. That's what magic's about. How you use your intention in your magic, right? Now, why is left-hand path honored so much by Satanists? Because we're not going their way. We're going our way. And the left-hand path is the way of the Satanist that walks with knowledge. Because the left-hand path is the guiding light, the guiding leading force that's going to lead you to self-empowerment. You must agree with Drew that every Satanist's goal should be our own personal self-empowerment. That should be our goal. Because once we're self-empowered, growth will start happening for you. Absolutely it will. So realize Satanists do a lot of things. And whether they're under a category as a good thing or a bad thing, a light or dark magic, like I said, all that's irrelevant. It just is. Magic just is. Real magic's not a human invention. It's existed on this planet. It's part of the planetary logos or the planetary gnosis, okay? And it's part of what we're supposed to be doing on our individual paths as Satanists and satanic witches as well. We're supposed to be working towards that self-empowerment. Well, all Drew's saying here and admonishing in this little discussion with everybody is to understand that even healing is a dark art. It absolutely is. And my conclusion to all this is knowledge is power. You want your magic to work? Most Satanists can agree that we want our satanic magic to work, right? Why would we insult the demons, petitioning them and asking them for their aid in things if we didn't want it to work in the first place? And even there, an understanding of the demons that actually heal is another broad subject. And it's part of this balancing of healing that I'm talking about. Okay. So in my travels, I've learned a lot of things. And this is one of them. You come to a certain knowledge, a level of understanding in your own satanic path, right? Where things have been made clear to you and they're more understandable by you. And I'll tell you when that happens. When you're ready. That's when it happens. When you're ready. And then there will be satanic leadership. Hopefully, that are out for Satan, that will want to teach you the proper ways to do things, right? Okay. Or pass on to you. Again, we want you to make your decision, because all Satanists are about is making our own personal decisions. Make that decision yourself. But remember, my real conclusion is simple. If you're a real left-hand pather, a satanic magician, a satanic witch, then the real conclusion is what you see in memories out there and what Drew's now saying. You must know how to heal to know how to harm. And you must know how to harm to know how to heal. Bring that balance of knowledge into your own psyche, okay, into your own well-being, and your own persona. Thanks, everybody, for your time. I'm going to be back on some pretty cool stuff coming up. I am working on my most extensive blog, which will be a video also. I had some pretty good counsel from one of my daughters this morning. It's her birthday today, so a little shout out to High Priestess Kiona. It's her birthday today. And what's she doing on her birthday? She's organizing the Lilith Monastery. She's doing the right things. On her most important day, the most important satanic holiday we have is our own birth. We were born to live a satanic life. Those of us that chose that path. Do it as a person of knowledge. Do it as a Satanist that knows self-empowerment all the way. Not just uses bits and pieces of it, but knows it all the way. Thanks, everybody, for your time. Got some real cool shit, like I said, coming up. I will be talking about, okay? And may you all live long and prosper. And we're talking about healing, so be in good health with good cheer, too. Satan and the demons ride with us. And as we like to say, our words go out with the strong wind of Mariah. Hail Satan, everybody, and hail yourself. Most of all, hail Satan first, then yourself. But do something else. Take another left-hand path step. and hail your own self-empowerment by learning to be a balanced magician, a balanced Satanist, a balanced member of the left-hand path. Hail Satan. Hail yourselves. So mote it be. Knowledge used with wisdom is our way. This is the way of the Brotherhood, and it is the way to power.